Okay, hello, good evening, welcome, or good morning or afternoon, whenever you're watching this Skyguide. This is the Stanion and Northants Astronomy Club's March 2021 Skyguide. So I'll be going through some of the things that you can see in the night sky throughout March, and some of the other things that have been happening over the last month as well. And then I've got some images to show you as well from some of the people from the Stanion and Northants Astronomy Club. Some of the images that are taken over the last month. I'll show you those at the end. So I will crack on and start off as usual to tell you about the planets, which ones you can see this month and where they will be. And we'll start off with Mercury. So Mercury is a morning object still quite a challenging view. I think it rises around about half an hour before the sun at the minute. At the beginning of March, and this screenshot I'm showing you here is the view on the 10th of March, which will be a challenging spot, but if you've got some good clear skies in the morning and nice low horizon to the southeast, you might be able to catch this kind of grouping planets and a very thin crescent moon as well. So we'll have Mercury, Jupiter and Saturn, and then below those three you will have the thin crescent moon visible, although it will starting to get light at this time in the morning. This is around about 20 past 6 on the 10th of March, so that will make it even more tricky. And also the 10th of March is quite an interesting date for me, bit astronomy unrelated, but March 10th is also it's Mario Day. So being a Nintendo fan, this excites me. It's Mario Day and it's also my birthday. So there you have it, March 10th, remember that date. So moving on now to Mars. This planet is visible in the evening, so in the southwest, as darkness falls you'll be able to see Mars up there, not very far away from the constellation of Taurus, and also close to the star cluster of the Pleiades. It is dimming it will dim from plus 0.9 mag to a mag plus 1.3 over the course of the month, and also it will start to lose a bit of altitude as the month progresses as well, but it's still nicely positioned for observations over the month. And also you can see from this screenshot here, it's just to the right of the red star Aldebaran, and also not very far away from constellation of Orion, with Betelgeuse there at its top left corner. So you see you have two nice bright red stars, and also the red planet Mars there, nicely aligned there. This is the screenshot from how it will look on the evening of the 6th of March, around about 7 o'clock. So yeah, some good observations of Mars to be had this month, though the diameter is falling also, so get your views in while you can, people. And this will be the view on the 19th of March, where there is a crescent moon joins in the party. We will have the Pleiades there on the right, and then upper middle we'll have Mars, and then the moon just below to the left a little bit, and then further on we'll have the red star Aldebaran of the constellation Taurus. Okay, alright, moving on now. Another cool thing happening on Mars, of course. How could I almost forget this? So last month, I think it was about the 18th of February, the NASA Mars Perseverance Rover made a successful landing via its 7 minutes of terror. So it took months and months to get to the red planet, and it entered the atmosphere, a parachute opened, it slowed down slow enough for then the sky crane to take over and safely lower the rover onto the surface. And as you can see from these animations, you can see how the sky crane safely deposited the rover onto the surface, and then you can see how the rover will be operating. There's a robotic arm with lots of different sorts of instruments on there to make different sorts of observations and such. And also stowed away underneath the rover at the minute is a little drone which they're going to be deploying over the course of the mission, and they're going to be testing out how we can fly small craft around on Mars, so they can explore much wider areas much more quickly, and it can send the rover to where it will do the best science really, and also show us how things can fly in a atmosphere that is only 1% what it is here on Earth. So I believe the rotors have to spin around about 5 times faster than a normal drone sort of rotor would spin here on Earth, and also has to be very light, although it's only about 38% of the gravity on Mars as it is here on Earth, so that will make flying a little bit easier still, but all these things have to be weighed up to make flight possible on the red planet, so that'll be interesting to see how that operates. And there's a couple of other cool things as well happening with the rover, or they're done with the rover. This plate here is the calibration plate for the Sherlock Watson camera on that robotic arm, and a couple of cool things in there which I enjoy. One of them is this one down here in the lower left of the plate, is this Geocoin. You can see there it's got a geo code there, because if anyone enjoys geocaching, you can go to geocaching.com, check it out. It's a really fun thing to do. It gets you out and about all sorts of places finding weird and wonderful things, and this is a geocoin which is part of the game, and you can track this coin online and register it and get a free little digital souvenir on your geocaching account. That's really cool, and that is sitting there on the surface of Mars. And another thing on the calibration plate as well is a slice of a Martian meteorite which was found here on Earth, and the scientists at NASA have used it to calibrate their instruments with, and they have this on the calibration plate on the rover itself. So a piece of Mars that has been smashed off a long time ago, ended up here on Earth, is now back on Mars again inside this little plate on the Perseverance Rover. So that is very cool indeed. And another thing that you can do as well with all these Martian missions, you can get your name sent to Mars. Now my name's there twice now. It's there on the InSight lander, and it's also there on the Perseverance Rover. So you just go to the NASA website, register your interest in sending your name to Mars, and they'll give you this little boarding pass, and you also build up your miles as well around the solar system. So it's a pretty cool little fun thing to do. Okay, so now moving on to Jupiter. So Jupiter's rising in the southeast early in the morning at the minute. Currently it's about 45 minutes before sunrise at the beginning of March, but it's still a tricky spot. You're not far away from Mercury, as I mentioned earlier as well, but it's still quite possible to see if you've got the right conditions, the right sort of horizon, before sunrise. So also Saturn is in the same sort of boat as well as Jupiter. I think that rises a little bit before Jupiter does, but being a bit dimmer than Jupiter makes it even more challenging in the morning twilight. So if you really want to see it this month, tick it off, then it is possible to do so, but quite challenging. And on the morning of the 9th of March, we'll have Jupiter, Saturn there, and then over to the right, Saturn will be a waxing crescent moon as well. So moving on now to Uranus as well. It's as darkness falls, it's about 30 degrees altitude at the beginning of March, but this falls rapidly as the month progresses. So if you really do want to tick off Uranus this month, then you're best off getting your views in as early as possible, really, because it will get more difficult, and you'll have less time to view it as the month goes on. And the best way to do this, as I usually say, is to just make yourself a little star chart sort of thing, so you can do a little star hop from it, like some known bright stars there, and just make sure you're looking at the right object. So Neptune can't be seen this month since solar conjunction on the 10th of March, and we all know what day that is, as I mentioned earlier. Wahoo! So so but unfortunately that's not visible this month, so no Neptune for us. And the deep sky objects I'm going to highlight this month. This one is M106, which is a spiral galaxy in the constellation of Ursa Major, and the reason I'm highlighting this one is because it is surrounded by lots and lots of little fainter galaxies, which, if you take an astrophotography image, I'm not sure if you can see it on this image, I took this about 6 or 7 years ago, but it might not be bright enough on your screen, but you see there in the middle, you can see the main galaxy M106, and then dotted around the image, if you're able to zoom in at all or not, but you can see little faint fuzzy smudges dotted around the place, which are these other small galaxies, and I've highlighted a few here just so you can see it there. But if you take your own images of this galaxy and you've got a nice wide field of view of your equipment, then it's really possible to make out these smaller, faint fuzzy galaxies in the same image. So that's a really cool thing to do. And this object here is a bit more of a better target for astrophotography. Really, it shows up really well, especially if you've got a modded camera, because there's lots of hydrogen alpha emissions in this region, and it is Barnard 33 and NGC 2024, which is the Horsehead and the Flame Nebula in the constellation of Orion, which is still gracing our skies as darkness falls at the minute. And this is an image I took quite a few years ago now, but as you can see, it's really quite a beautiful object to image. To get it framed nicely, I think this is a classic view that most people tend to frame these objects. You got one of the bright stars of the Orion's belt there, and of course the Horsehead Nebula, which is actually like a dark, dusty region in front of this hydrogen area behind it, and also the Flame Nebula. It's the same sort of effect, but it looks like flames instead. Hence its names. Okay, now moving on now. Tell you about the space station. Is visible in the early morning until the 12th of March, and then we don't see it again until the 18th of March, when then it returns to evening passes. So the screenshot here shows you, I can't see the date on there, but it is, I think that's tomorrow morning, that is. So you can see it will emerge near the constellation of Bootes, and then you'll see it head towards the eastern horizon, where it will set. So yeah, and as always, go on to heavensabove.com or use the ISS detector app to get information on when and where you will see the space station in the sky. And moving on now to some of the images that some of the club members have sent in. So Paul Smith has sent us a few images. This one's of M36. It's in the constellation of Auriga. This is the pinwheel cluster, I think he called it. Yeah, and he's used 60 times 60 second subframes for this image, which nicely shows all the the contrasting colours of the different stars in this cluster. It's a really cool way to get the differences between the star colours in these clusters. And another similar image is the starfish cluster. I think it's still in the constellation of Auriga. This is M38. These clusters are really nice to look at visually as well through a telescope or binoculars. But in astrophotography, you can see how well the colours contrasts do show up. You've got white stars, blue stars, red stars in there. They look really good. So also he took an image of the moon as well with just the zoom lens on his DSLR camera. This is from the 21st of February. You can always get some nice details on the moon's surface with just a zoom lens, normal camera on a tripod, of course, keep it nice and steady and get the right exposure settings, and lumen imagery is lovely all month round. And our friend Titch Wykes as well, he's been out doing some solo astronomy this month. These are two images here taken on the same day but in different wavelengths of light. So this one here on the left is in calcium K, and the one on the right is in hydrogen alpha, and you can see the the difference of details that you can see, between the two different wavelengths of light. The calcium K shows up the fainter regions around that sunspot in a bit more detail than you can see in hydrogen alpha. But in hydrogen alpha, you can use that to see it visually better than you can in calcium K. I've used the calcium K telescope before, and it is really tricky to see just using your eye through the eyepiece. So it's more suited to taking photographs of the solar disk. But some really cool work there from Titch. And I think I'm going to leave you now with a panorama from the Perseverance Rover. This is the first high def image that it returned after they've tested all the systems and that, and got a really good view of the Jezero crater, which is where the rover is going to be doing its exploration over the coming years. And hopefully we'll get to see much more imagery like this from the rover, over the coming weeks and months and years to come, as well as watching to see what the little drone will be doing as well, which is named Ingenuity, by the way. So there we have it. I hope you enjoyed the Skyguide this month. You can say hello, Amelia.
Hello.
Hopefully you can all get out and get some clear skies over March, and you found this Skyguide useful. And I'll see you all again next month. So
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye.